You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Feel like who art Ed?
We'll try to spice it.
Who art Ed? Mr. Wood art Ed me.
Good. Either way, it's ambiguous. It works on so many levels.
I know.
That's off to a great start.
Welcome to Who Arted, where we explore visual arts in an audio medium. I'm your host, Kyle Wood. Today, we're going to be looking at round 3 of Arts Madness. Well, I guess technically we're going to start off by talking about what happened in round 2 and then some of the matchups for round 3. For me, the theme of round 2 voting seems to be the power of the lesser-known artists. Janet Sobel, Sharuvi Agrawal, Phillida Barlow, they may not be the most famous artists in the world, but they have taken out some of the biggest names in the traditional canon. Those 3 women are all advancing to round 3, and to get there, they had to take out artists like Warhol, Van Eyck, and Frida Kahlo, which I guess kind of cuts against the feminist streak in this trend, but still, happy for those 3. This week, we have Janet Sobel up against Sharuvi Agrawal, and I imagine this one's going to be close. In round 2, we actually had 2 very close matchups that were basically decided by about 1% of the vote. The 2 most evenly split matches were Janet Sobel versus Jim Davis, with Sobel coming out on top, and the Battle of the Old Dutch Masters was extremely tight, but in the end, Vermeer came out just ahead of Rembrandt. On the other end of the spectrum, the biggest blowout in round 2 was the matchup between Leonardo da Vinci and Rene Magritte. I feel like Magritte put up a good fight, but it's hard for anyone to compete against Leonardo. Not all the Ninja Turtle namesakes were able to win their battles, though. I was surprised to see Claude Monet beat Michelangelo. I'll be interested to see if Monet can keep his winning streak going, as he is once again facing a great Renaissance artist, Raphael, who was actually Michelangelo's rival back in the day. I'm also curious to see who's going to come out on top in the match between Vincent van Gogh and Johannes Vermeer. These are 2 incredibly popular figures from art history, both with a bit of a mystery about their life stories. I'm guessing this will be a very close contest. Either way, I know it's going to be painful to see one of them go. But that's the nature of the game. It's funny as I look at the brackets. On the left, it seems a lot of traditional favorites are winning out. But the right side seems to be the wild card bracket. We have some really unusual matchups with Matt Groening up against Frank Lloyd Wright, or Shigeru Miyamoto up against Robert Smithson, which I think creates a fun challenge trying to figure out how you even compare works from such different media and artists with totally different goals in their minds. Ultimately, though, it's not about what those artists had in mind, it's about your mind. You get to decide what makes a work of art good. Take time to think about what are the characteristics that make one artist or artwork appeal to you. Is it about the look, the ideas, the skill of the artist, or the story behind it? There are lots of ways to look at a work of art, and I can't wait to see what you all decide in this week's matches. So be sure to go to whoartedpodcast.com and vote for your favorites.
This concludes this week's episode of Who Arted, part of the Airwave Media Podcast Network. If you found this tolerable, please leave a rating or review on your favorite podcast app. You can find images of the work being discussed this week and every week on social media at Who Arted Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and of course on the website whoartedpodcast.com. Podcast done.